wszystkim polskim uczestnikom. Bardzo się cieszę, że Państwo są z nami. Okay, and yeah, that's it from my side, and I give the floor to Agota and Olshoyan.
Thank you so much, Eva, and I also want to welcome everybody. És természetesen a magyar kollégákat magyarul is szeretném köszönteni. Jó napot kívánok! So we really want to encourage you to take this opportunity and ask as many questions as you have, because we have a very experienced panel today and also commission speakers. So please really be active and ask the questions. And just shortly about me, I'm representing the National Research Development and Innovation Office of Hungary, which is the main funding institution for research and development in Hungary, and also it hosts the national contact points. So I'm also happy to invite you to get in contact with the colleagues at NRDIO if you have further questions. And now I give the floor to my colleague Orsolya from Hungary too.
Hello, jó napot kívánok! Szeretettel üdvözlöm én is a résztvevőket. Welcome you all. My name is Orsolya and I'm representing Eötvös Loránd University in Brussels. I'm based in Brussels, and I wish you a fruitful event too. I hope you find this useful for the preparation of the program. If you need any help for the preparation, we're really happy to help you. I give the floor now, Aliki.
Hello everyone, Kalispera. Σας καλωσορίζω στη σημερινή μας εκδήλωση. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Aliki Varela. I am the coordinator of the European Office of Cyprus Brussels office, and I will be moderating the first session. We are very happy to organize the second event with our colleagues today. And I would like to in this end to introduce our first speakers of the first session. So let me start by introducing Tanja Vertel on behalf of the Slovenian Presidency, followed by Dr. Gregor Anderluch, Director at the National Institute of Chemistry. Please, Tanja Vertel, the screen is yours.
Najlepša hvala za besedo, and thank you very much for the floor, and thank you very much also for the invitation to this very important event, which will, I'm very sure, spread and even more the importance of these widening measures which are going to be financed through Horizon Europe program. But before I continue, I would like to share a little bit of my screen. Can I ask you if you see the screen? Is everything okay?
We did see it for a moment, but
Not
now
yet.
we do not.
Not yet. Okay, just a second. Okay, I'll try again. Do you see it now?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I would like also to greet you in the name of the Slovenian Presidency of the Council of the European Union. And before I go to the main issue of the importance of the widening measures, I would just like you to present our slogan, or our logo of the Slovenian Presidency. Okay, our slogan, I don't know if you've already heard it or not, is the Together, Resilience and Europe. So this is very aligned, I think, with the European priorities at this moment, at this, let's say, quite difficult COVID time. But this is our, let's say, logo, which represents Mount Triglav. You can see the colors, which are the Slovenian flag colors. And these ribbons also represent some kind of, let's say, nuances between, let's say, good times and bad times in the, let's say, on the level of the Europe, so with the values, etc. And up there, you can see the 7 stars, and these are the 7 stars represent, let's say, the 7th stanza of the Prešeren, of this Franz Prešeren, who was the greatest Slovenian poet, which also wrote a toast, which is Zdravljica, we call it. It's a Slovenian anthem, and the 7th, of course, stanza is the most important one for our anthem. So this is our Slovenian logo, and I hope that you will remember it, and because I think that in the next 6 months you will see it quite often. So now, and continuing with my presentation, as I said. I will be, let's say, quite short because I don't have a lot of time, but still when highlighting the importance of widening measures, I would just like to point out this one, I think quite iconic infographic, which represents the European Innovation Scoreboard. It is the last scoreboard, so the scoreboard from 2021. And what's, let's say, important within this infographic is what is also important for the widening is that you can see that we are different member states and we have different, let's say, levels of performance in the field of research and innovations. We have different countries where from the part of emerging innovators to those who are innovation leaders. And speaking from Slovenian part, we can say that we are somewhere in the middle. We are at the moment moderate innovators, but I think that like all other countries, we also like to become, at least as part of our national strategy, is to become innovation leaders. We can also know that on average, the innovation performance has from 2014 has increased. I think that for 12%, which is quite a good, let's say, figure. And also there is a continuing convergence within the EU. But nevertheless, we do think that for greater impact and for greater international competitiveness, we also need to increase the overall performance of different EU countries. This means not only those who are already good and but also those who are lagging a little bit behind. As considering the widening, why it's important? Because of course there is much more financial allocation than it was in the last and previous programming period. We are dealing with approximately 3 billion euros, which is quite a big, let's say, sum, and which is quite an important financial allocation, which also I think that reflects the importance of different widening measures. So why is widening for us, let's say, especially for Slovenia, important? Because, as I said before, there still is some divide in the area of research and innovation between different countries. And we think that widening measures are very different measures which support, at one hand, let's say, institutional reforms, also on the level of policy reforms, and also the reforms of different research and innovation assistance. We have different destinations, we have different actions for different situations, with different, let's say, expected outcomes and impacts that all these widening measures are dealing with. So but it's not only why it's important, it's not only for those countries which are, let's say, eligible to be coordinators, but I think that it's a win-win situation also for those countries which are not lagging behind, because I think that with this cooperation with let's say our countries, they can also gain a lot of profits and a lot of benefits for networks, for sharing the strategic cooperation, etc. Nevertheless, at the end, I have to say that widening is also important because it's a very crucial element or measure which provides synergies and complementarities with different other fundings. Not only European cohesion policy, which is mainly the focus, but also with the new recovery and resilience funds, and of course, including the national investments. So we do think that to bring, let's say, more impact, to increase the public expenditure for research and innovation, and to be able to provide different modality of implementation, we have to use as much funding as possible. And I think that widening is very important also in this area. I don't want to be very long, because I know that you have a very different and very excellent presentations and experiences afterwards, after my presentation, but I would still like to stress out that we do believe that we have to, as a Slovenia, even more enhance the possibilities that widening measures are providing. And we also have some goals which are related to this success rate. So we would like to to enhance the success rate of the widening participation, which will probably, or I have to say, I think for sure, also increase the success rate on different other pillars within the Horizon Europe. So this is it from my side. I would like to thank you all for listening to me, and if there are some questions, please do not hesitate to ask. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tanya. That was very useful. I just want to say to everybody, feel free to write your questions in the chat for the first two speakers. We can happily take a couple of questions after their presentations. Now we proceed to Dr. Gregor Anderlug, like I mentioned before, Director at the National Institute of Chemistry. Dr. Gregor, please.
Hello everybody. Let me just share the screen. I prepared a couple of slides.
Perfect, we can see.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much again for inviting us to this roundtable discussion and presentation of the Widening program. I think events like this are extremely important in order to build a better ecosystem in countries that we lack behind more developed regions. I would like to thank to Ms. Wertel for her opening words. She is of course, very right in asking a question, why is widening important? Of course, this is a very important question for EU 13 countries like Slovenia is, for example. Maybe also as important is how are we as countries prepared to adopt widening schemes? In terms of how excellence in science is promoted in our countries with other measures, how supported are efforts of widening by other means, as was mentioned, by other European funds, and what kind of structural framework we have in countries in order to absorb as much of excellent science as possible. This is really very important, and EU 13 countries, we must do our own homework. For example, in Slovenia, we are waiting for the new legislation about research, development, and innovations for many, many years, and hopefully we will adopt it this year. And this will actually bring a lot of new improvements in our ecosystem, which will lead to better science, to better connection of science to society, and to better and more innovations in our country. So I wanted to start with this slide, which shows this big divide present between EU 13 countries and other regions of Europe. I'm showing here the number of approved DRC grants per region, per country, per region. And as you can see from the numbers, for most of us come from EU 13 countries, and you can see for your respective country how do you stand in comparison to other countries. So there's a big discrepancy. It is right to address it. We hoped we will make the gap smaller with previous program, and we count on the current program that we will succeed to close the gap a little bit more. So I will present you in the next slide just very briefly the research landscape of Slovenia. So we are a small country of 2 million located in the middle of Europe, not far from some of the main research centers with whom we collaborate quite a lot as a country. For example, Munich, Vienna, Trieste is very close with an excellent infrastructure, Milan, and so on. We have 4 universities and 16 public research institutes. That amounts to approximately 7,000 researchers who are active in most, if not all, domains. As regard to excellence of Slovenian science, maybe just this piece of information that so far we were awarded 17 European Research Council grants, which is nice. Of course, we are happy about that, but of course, it's not good enough, and we are striving to raise these numbers even more. Slovenia is a small country. Of course, we benefit a lot from European research area, but we also provide to European research area by our infrastructure. I'm highlighting here high performance computing cluster Vega, which was recently put into operations. This was a very, I would say, significant achievement for Slovenia and the region, as this is also part of Euro high performance computing platform that is being built. And this is one way on how we can not only provide to European research area, but then also to provide stimulus for Slovenian and regional science in order to use this kind of infrastructure more and more. There's another infrastructure, CERIC, whereby our institute participates. And these are also, it's also a very successful example of how we can contribute with our instrumentation, with our infrastructures to development of, for example, materials, life science research at an European scale. And it is right, and we should strive to be as much connected as possible in that respect. So our institute is one of the biggest in Slovenia. Currently, we employ 370 people, out of which are 160 researchers. Approximately 120 PhD students are conducting their research at the institute. To give you an overview of how we are financed, this is the portfolio of our projects for the 2020. We got quite a lot of financing at the national level, where Slovenian Research Agency is distributing the funds, and this funding is partly stable and partly it is a competitive one. Then we are also very well connected to the European research space, as mentioned. So we were quite successful at the level of Horizon 2020 program. We so far have obtained 49 Horizon projects, currently running 25 and 6 ERC projects. We are very proud of that fact because it is very important for several different reasons why having such projects at the institutions is for the institution and for the Slovenian science in general. We are acting mainly in health area, in materials research, energy production, sustainable cities, and so on. So we are very well aligned with European and research science in general. So maybe this is the slide that I want to spend a bit more time on, because I think it's important to stress what are our experiences and what we expect from the next European program. So I firmly believe that participation in programs like this are really important for institutions and for countries. By being partners and coordinators of these projects, it builds us as a scientific community. We can provide with our expertise to excellent projects, and we can raise the new generation of young scientists. We are very proud on European Research Council grants and Marie Curie Skłodowska actions projects, because they have their particular advantages, and they show that we reached a certain level of excellence at our operations. This kind of participation in Horizon 2020 program would not be possible without adjustments of our operations at the Institute. So I think that institutional support is crucial. If we want to succeed in these programs, we had to adapt to the needs. So we have established project office, we have established help to researchers for the preparation of proposals, for financial monitoring of activities, and this all resulted in increased number of European projects, and so far the financing will soon amount to 20% of our operations. I think the growth of countries like Slovenia must be based on existing infrastructure. So at institutes like ours and other institutes and universities, we are established institutions, a long time in operations, and we definitely can see and express our needs for certain new expertises, for certain new infrastructures that we wish to develop in order to be more competitive. So we would I think this is very important also for the further discussions on how to make these mechanisms or how to prepare these kind of mechanisms that support our activities. As highlighted, we had a breakthrough in the last couple of years with acquisition of ERC projects and Marie Curie actions. We believe strongly that ERC must remain as the pillar of European science, that it must remain in leading position because of the groundbreaking nature of its research, and this gives in our situation, it gives us possibility to compare with excellent researchers in other countries, not only in Europe, but also elsewhere throughout the globe. So we would very much be in favor that financial support of ERC must retain high. As well as Marie Curie actions here, there's another aspect that is very important to us, is that this kind of fellowships provide also a very good means of how we can internationalize our institutions. Sometimes we face obstacles, systemic obstacles in how internalization is optimized. In Slovenian case, this is mostly due to the issue of language and some other obstacles. But success in Marie Curie actions, for example, is one way on how to overcome this. We have, for example, at our institute, we have 14 fellows which came through this mechanism, and it really improved a lot our share of foreign researchers working at the institute. By saying this, I should also mention the mechanism of seal of excellence of European Union and national governments. I think this is a very good idea of supporting projects that were evaluated at the European level, that they reach certain excellence, but were not funded due to sometimes scarce funds that are provided. So in our case, that means that some of these fellows were funded by Seal of Excellence, funded by national resources. I think governments should put more emphasis on this mechanism, and also to extend it to some other possibilities.
Dr. Gregor, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have almost run out of time, and if you're wrapping up now, it would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
Can I wrap up?
Great.
Thank you very much. The individual projects and small projects such as ERA chairs and excellent hubs, which are part of widening process, is something that we also very much encourage and support. This is example of a project from the institute which combine the basic research with commercialization. With this, I just want to highlight that we should not only think about excellent science, but also about transferring knowledge to higher readiness levels. Here we have gaps, and here we also have to somehow fill them at the national and at the European level. And finally, let me finish with also noting that our institute is also part of many associations, many European associations. In order to network, in order to develop faster, we need to be part of these associations. So I'm very happy that we are also part of Slovenian Business and Research Association, who is co-organizer of this event, which really means a lot of us because you are our ears and eyes at the European level. And with this, we can get new contacts, and we can also affect how the programs are prepared in areas where we are very strong. For example, in our case, this is health and zero carbon society. So thank you very much for time. I hope I presented a little bit the situation in Slovenia and at our institute, and I'm happy to discuss any of that.
Dr. Gregor, thank you so much for your very interesting presentation, I must say. I see that we have a very active audience in the chat. They're already posing some questions, but I think most of them can be answered by Manuel Aleixo from the Commission. But I don't know if we have 1 or 2 minutes for speakers to react. In particular, there were a few questions referred to Ms. Verdej, but I don't know if we have the time just for 1 minute, maybe each speaker to respond. If they want to say something, that would be still okay.
You're muted, Ms. Verdej.
Explain the evaluation selection procedure for teaming for excellence in the light of spreading the projects through widening countries. Actually, I don't really understand the question very much, but the evaluation and the selection criteria we have, it's not was prepared in line with the Commission, yes, of course. And now, what will be difference? What will be difference from from the previous period was that the evaluation will be put together for the Horizon Europe part and for the cohesion part. Let's say if the infrastructure will be financed through the cohesion funds. In the light of, I don't understand actually the second part of the question, so I'm really sorry not to answer. Thank you for, okay, do you think that widening measures are appropriate to answer to one of the key challenges of you attracting and retaining excellent researchers? Well, I have to say that widening measures are not the only measures which are linked to this. We know all that we have the brain drain, let's say, issues or challenges. But I do think that we also have some other measures, and also on the national levels, we will probably have to provide more measures which will attract or will deal with this issue. Let's say, for example, in Slovenia, when preparing the recovery and resilience plans, we put in the plan also the reintegration of Slovenian researchers into the Slovenian research system. So we know that this is an issue, but we also know that we have to combine different funds and different measures to achieve greater impact. So I do think that we have to take all these measures which are or financial instruments which are available if we are talking about investments now, not only I know that sometimes we also have to deal with the reform parts. If we're dealing with the investments, I think that we have different possibilities. We just have to combine them and to do to achieve greater impact. But on the level of the policy, I think that we will also have to do probably some more steps. Let's say one of the steps will be also in the time of the Slovenian presidency. We will have in November, we will organize the big Marie Skłodowska-Curie conference, which will also deal with this aspect. So we know that it is an issue and it is a challenge and that we have to deal with it. And I think this is appropriate time to do so. So I'm really already inviting you at the moment to this conference, because I think it will be an important one, and I think it will be quite an excellent one. And all these inputs from the conference will be also part of the, let's say, new era governance model, or how to say, the council conclusion. So yes, we know that it's an important issue, but we have to think that we have to look a little bit broader and to combine different efforts in the fields of investment or policy areas.
Thank you so much for the reply. I think, first of all, I want to thank both our speakers. It was a very interesting presentations. We can now proceed to the next session, and please let me introduce you to the moderator of that session, Dr. Drasko Veselinovic, Director of the Slovenian Business and Research Association. The floor is yours. The screen is yours.
Yes, Aliki, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to greet you all on behalf of Slovenia and Slovenian Business and Research Association. And of course, I'm also greeting all the colleagues that we co-organized this event. Thank you for your cooperation and support. I think such formula of organizing events is a very valuable one, and I'm sure we will continue with it and make some additional interesting events. I have very interesting part two of this conference to chair. It's my pleasure to announce a roundtable. It's not classic roundtable because we will have some presentations there. Please keep presentations within 10 minutes because let's leave some time for discussion, because roundtable should have some discussion as well, I guess. And I have some really excellent and very interesting speakers participating at this roundtable. So let me first introduce Justina Olko, PhD, Director of the Center for Research and Practice in Cultural Continuity, Faculty of Artes Liberales, University of Warsaw. She is, I also heard, I got information that she is twice ERC grantee and also Maria Skodlowska participant. So maybe one of your tasks, so to say, at the roundtable would be to explain us how you succeeded to do all that. Okay, then it's Tomasz Kosik, Eötvös Loránd University. They got this enlargement grant from Horizon Europe, and I'm sure they can explain that experience, which would be very valuable for all of us. And then we have Marios Demetriades, Director of Research and Innovation Support Service at the University of Cyprus and Executive Director of the European Office of Cyprus. Well, Cyprus, it was the talk of the year, I would say, some time ago, when I got 6 teaming projects in one particular year. So I'm sure you're not responsible for all 6 of them, but maybe you can give us some hint what gave you such a big success of getting 6 of them in one call. That was really amazing, and giving some insights on that would be very valuable. The last but not the least is Mike Bernard from Inno Review, Center of Excellence from Slovenia. This is the only teaming project that Slovenia got so far, and it is based on wood. So how to use wood in many, many different ways, modern ways, advanced ways, of course, and we'll hear what experience they can offer us. So introduction is over. So maybe since we have these short presentations, I will call for Mrs. Olko. Justina, the floor is yours, but let's keep within 10 minutes, please.
Yes. Thank you for the introduction, and my thanks to the organizers for inviting me to share my experience during this event. I will now share my presentation. Yes. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we
Okay.
can see it. Even better now. Perfect.
Okay, so the experience I would like to share with you is about the synergy between different kinds of projects and how they can foster new research and new opportunities and make our research programs sustainable, thanks to our participation in the programs offered by the European Commission. So this is my specific experience, and my first experience with the granting system of the European Union, in this case European Research Council, was in 2011 when I applied for a starting grant, and I got it. It started in 2012. And it was of course, it was preceded by some preliminary experience developed within the national granting system and some initial team building. But this was a major milestone in the development of the team and of team projects, multidisciplinary team projects. And I have to introduce you a little bit about in what I do. I work with the indigenous people in Mexico, the Nahuas, the descendants of the Aztecs, and I also work with ethnic minorities in Europe, in Poland, in different parts of the world. So all my projects, the projects I coordinated, somehow focus on this broad theme. And the first project was about culture contact that lasted 500 years between the Europeans and the indigenous people of Mexico. And we produced a number of results in linguistics, in ethnohistory, social linguistics, contact linguistics. And then we realized that there are still for me, there are some questions that are not answered. And in my perspective, a good project is the project that not only answers the questions you might have in the beginning, but that gives you more questions in the end and more opportunities to carry out and continue research. So this was the case of this project. In addition to some new questions, I've also became aware of some limitations, let's say, disciplinary limitations of myself and my colleagues, or our center where we are based at the Faculty of Artes Liberales in the University of Warsaw. So at that point, when the project was still developing in its second half, I found out about the twinning call. And we applied for the twinning project, for the twinning grant with the project Engage Medicine Europe, capacity building for participatory research in linguistic cultural heritage. And this was done with the School of Oriental and African Studies of the University of London and Leiden University, and of course our university. And this Widening project was oriented toward developing more efficient transdisciplinary skills and knowledge in studying linguistic cultural heritage. And I can say this was a very exciting enterprise right from the beginning, because in our proposal, of course, we envisioned a consortium, but we also envisioned the participation of minority communities from Europe and other parts of the world as essential agents and participants in this project. And we were actually allowed in the phase of negotiations with the European Commission to extend the funding, the possibility of paying for capacity building, not just of the consortium members, but also of local communities. And I think this was fundamental really for carrying out this project that focused on looking for innovative tools and methods in researching, studying, and teaching indigenous languages. It was about engagement and breaking the walls between academy and society and local organizations. And also our main focus was about also revitalizing languages and supporting languages that are in the danger of disappearance. And thanks to the flexibility of the framework, and support we received also from the European Commission, from the project officer that helped us to implement the project, we could embrace participants from a huge number of countries. In Europe, I give you a number of 15 countries, participants who researched and spoke 22 different minority languages. So the scope was really broad, and as researchers, we really benefited from this capacity building and exchange. We created a number of educational materials for speakers of minority languages in Europe and also in Mexico, which is, as I said, one of my main research areas. And we were able to distribute the results and the educational materials. So the impact of the project was not only academic, it was not only for us. We learned from different the experience of different communities, but also we were able to share the benefits of the project. And this is something I really value, because it's sort of set up standards of our work until now. And we were able to carry out a number of academic capacity building events in different places in the world, both in formal context and less formal context. As you can see, there were some workshops in communities, in individual houses of speakers of endangered languages. This is pictures from Mexico, from the region of Tlaxcala, for example. But perhaps the most important lesson we learned there, and we sort of envisioned it from the beginning, but we had to show it, was that this is not about one-way transfer between the institution based in Western Europe and the other institution based in Poland. It was a two-way synergy, a two-way transfer, a very decolonizing experience for both of us. And I think this is the essence of such programs, that this has to be looked at as a two-way or multi-way synergy between different European partners. So this was like a very important message from our project. And there is also a very tangible academic impact, because the project made it possible to establish our International Center for Research and Practice in Cultural Continuity. And it was sort of co-funded, co-established by several European partners, by our university, by SOAS in London, by Leiden University, by Max Planck Institute, and University of Groningen. And this is the place where we work until now, and we basically develop thanks to a number of national and international grants and teamwork. Our project was also promoted by the European Commission among the success stories within the twinning program. And we had some impact also in Poland in language policy, because the Parliamentary Commission for National Ethnic Minorities was attracted to what we were doing, and even organized a session in the place where we had our summer school in Wilamowice, in a minority town speaking a unique language, a Germanic language in southeastern Poland. And based on that, there was an amendment to the law, to the bill on minority and regional languages, which was approved, but then it was vetoed by the president. So we are still in the process of struggling for the recognition of this language. But we did have some impact, and we hope that we will have impact in the future on improving the law.
2 minutes to go.
Yes, and among the most recent result of this project, which ended in 2018, is a practical guide for language revitalization published in open access. And also funding open access is only possible, especially for such publishers, thanks to European funding, so we can really share broadly the impacts of the results of the research. And this book was co-written by academics and community members, activists, local teachers. So this is the idea of collaboration that we promote. And another project that grew out of our twinning experience is the Calling project within Marii Curie-Skłodowski framework, Minority Languages Major Opportunities. And now I'm speaking to you from Calabria in Italy, where I'm hosted by a local Italian partner, the Association of the Speakers of a Minority Greco language in Calabria. And so despite the pandemic, the project and the exchange is going on, and will go on for some time. And finally, I think that the lessons I learned and the tools I developed along with my colleagues and my partners, my collaborators, in the twinning program have also been instrumental for applying for the second ERC grant and getting the second ERC grant consolidator in December last year for the project Multilingual Words, Neglected Histories. It's about historical and modern multilingualism. What I wanted to emphasize is the synergy and looking for sustainable ways of doing research, not just one project, but exploring how different financing opportunities and framework can nourish our different research needs and can enhance what we do both within the academy and outside the academy, because for us the social impact is of special importance. So this is my experience, and I'll be happy to answer any questions or share more details, more like practical aspects of this. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks a lot. Very interesting, I must say. Maybe I suggest we move to another presentation, and then we have some discussion at the end, because everybody will follow 10 minutes timeline, and then we'll have some time for discussion and obviously to answer some questions. We got some more questions here. Maybe, well, no, let's go by, let's do it first by presentations, and then let's do the questions, if that's okay. So, okay, the next one is, as I introduced already, Mr. Tamas Kosik. So, Tamas, the floor is yours. 10 minutes, please.
Thank you very much. I didn't bring you any presentations. I'm going to just talk to you about my experiences about the widening activities in EU countries. So let me introduce myself in the first place. I'm a computer scientist. I'm not going to bore you with the details of my research topic, because I think this is a typical computer science topic which is only interested for computer scientists. But the key idea here, what I'm involved in, is that we would like to produce software which we can rely on. Currently, we use lots of software in every piece of our lives, and often we use software which are very unreliable. The more we use this software, the more harm they can do to us, and we need to understand how to design these systems in such a way that they are guaranteed to behave correctly. They are guaranteed to preserve our privacy. They are guaranteed to not lose our money, and so on and so forth. So this is briefly the topic. So what happened to us? We are a new faculty of a traditional university, a science university, the most prestigious university in Hungary. And as a computer science faculty, we formed in 2003. Computer science research and education started very long ago in the 70s, but it took us about 30 years to get some special focus, to get independence from the rest of the university. This shows that computer science is a relatively isolated topic in current sciences. So they do not fit the traditional category of sciences. That's one of my messages. The second message is that due to COCOM regulations, computer science was completely isolated from Europe, in Hungary, and of course in all the widening countries. So when the borders opened up in the 90s, it took us extremely long time to get involved in international research. And what I see the key idea in the widening projects is that it allows us to join these research networks. It allows you to integrate better in these research networks. So in 2013, we managed to hop on an existing running project. And this was the project that I'm going to talk about you today. This was our first direct European funded project, and it had an extraordinary impact on the way we currently do research and do innovation. Some people think that such a project is important because of the money, because we get some funding from EU. And I argue that this is not true. Money is a secondary issue. We just don't care too much about money. The main advantage of joining an existing project and the main advantage of working together with researchers from more developed countries is that we get closer to interesting research topics, is that we can collaborate on really, really interesting topics. It's very hard to find out if you are a newcomer in a field. It's very hard to find out what is relevant, what is interesting for Europe or for humanity. But if you can collaborate with people who are more experienced in this, and you can find the research tasks which will do good to the community, I think it's more valuable than earning money from the EU. So this is why I really think that it is important to have the ability to work together with scientists from more developed countries. I also think that this issue is also very important from the point of view of the questions mentioned earlier today about attracting and keeping young scientists in EU 13 countries. So, of course, money is important. You can keep scientists at home if you have enough funding, but I think it's even more important to provide them opportunities regarding their research topics. And this is where in an international project and international partners can help a lot. So my view is that when we joined the running so-called Paraphrase project back in 2013, we had the opportunity to work together with Scottish, German, Austrian, Italian, and Israeli partners. And of course, we were really, really shy the first day. And we thought that, these are the smart guys, and we are the new guys who don't know what to do, and they don't know how such programs work, and they don't know how to do science properly. And I think this is a problem in our culture, that we are often too shy, and we are not really satisfied of what we know and what we are capable of. But it turns out that what we know is very important for them. So the Widening projects is not about doing good to the EU 13 countries. The Widening project is doing good for the whole EU. It's not only beneficial for us, but it's beneficial for the whole EU, because we, people in Europe, will be able to better use the resources available in these countries. There are many valuable resources in our countries. And if we are too shy to share these resources with the rest of the world, then of course, these resources remain unexploited. After joining the project, the running project, at the end of the second month, we had a demo on what we have done in the first 2 months of the project. And it turned out that we brought in technology which was completely inaccessible for them beforehand. And we brought in knowledge which was completely unavailable for them. So they said that they can do a similar thing on their related topic by the end of the project, the 2-year project. So with the knowledge and the technologies we had, and which we were not very satisfied and which we were too shy to show, we actually could achieve results in 2 months, similar to what they could do in 2 years. So this is why I would like to emphasize that it's very important to be more proud of our possibilities, and we should provide our resources to the benefit of the whole community. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, that was perfect timing. I mean, I just wanted to remind you on timing, but it's obvious you are a computer man, so you're very precise.
No, I could see on your face.
Thanks a lot, really, very interesting. And you already, issued some additional issues that we're gonna discuss later on when we have, time for this discussion after the presentations. I put them down some already. And let's move now to the next speaker, Marios Dimitriades from Cyprus. And Marios, I already put you some questions in the beginning, but please, the floor is yours. The screen is yours. As Aliki says.
Thank you very much. I will share my presentation.
Yep. We see it.
Can you all see it? Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So thank you very much for the opportunity to share our experiences with the other colleagues regarding how Cyprus performed in the widespread program, and especially the teaming call. Indeed, I believe that the performance of Cyprus was outstanding. There are many factors that I believe are behind that success, but in any case, I will present them now and then discuss and see whether the colleagues have any other opinions on this. So this is just a snapshot of how Cyprus performed in the widespread program compared to the EU, and of course how the University of Cyprus, the university that I am employed, performed as well. This picture does not say much. It shows, with the exception of teaming, phase 2, I believe that the others are where one would have expected. Very little for Cyprus, very little for the university, compared to the whole European Union and the widening countries. But if we move a bit forward, you will see a bit more clear picture. Cyprus had secured 6, as you very correctly said before, 6 teaming phase 2 projects, 5 year projects and 9 twinning projects. And but it had also secured 12 teaming phase 1 projects, only half of them developed to become centers of excellence. Now, this is where the whole thing starts to become more interesting. We have tried to put some weight on the performance of Cyprus to show that why this performance is outstanding. You see that the Cyprus performance on teaming was around 68.5 million for Cypriot organizations, compared to the whole 390 million that organizations have secured. So only the budget for the Cypriot organizations, not their advanced partners in the teaming projects, accounted for around 18% of the total budget. So for a country with a population of 890,000 people, compared to the EU population, you see that it accounts only for 0.2% of the population of the European Union. So yes, 18% of that budget for teaming went to the 0.2% of the EU population. And in these numbers, I don't include the associated countries. So if we were to include also the associated countries that were eligible, were in the widening category, then this percentage would have been even smaller. So you understand why this is indeed impressive. These are the 6 projects that Cyprus has secured, and it's important to have a quick look to see that these are in various fields. They are in fields, as I will discuss a bit later, that Cyprus is strong, both on the side of the supply and the demand. This means that we have both excellent scientists, but also our economy, it's strong around these areas. So we have 6, 3 are related to the University of Cyprus, 2 are coordinated by the University of Cyprus, and 1 is a partner. We have 1 for the Cyprus University of Technology, 1 for the Cyprus Institute, and 1 for the municipality of Larnaca. And this shows again the variety, the diversity of actors engaged in this undertaking of the teaming program. It shows that the whole research ecosystem of Cyprus was working, was putting a lot of resources towards succeeding in this call, and this is a critical factor for success. Now, just a few words on the 3 teaming projects of the University of Cyprus. We have the most recent one, which is the Cyprus Biobank project. It's of course a project in the field of health, and it created and upgraded the first biobank in the country, and it upgraded into a center of excellence. And we expect that to result in a benefit of Cypriot and European citizens. We have another teaming project in which Cyprus, the University of Cyprus, is a founding partner, is a partner in the proposal, and a founding partner of the Center of Excellence, alongside the Cyprus University of Technology, the Open University of Cyprus, and the Municipality of Nicosia, which is coordinating the project. And we have the advanced partners from Germany, Max Planck Institute of Informatics, and UCL from the UK. What is also important, and you will see in a while, that we have different models of success. It means that we don't have a pattern, a steady pattern that shows that the probability for succeeding is maximized if you select only one partner or a multitude of partners or from different fields. We have succeeded in many ways. So we believe that this was tailored to the needs and the strengths of each project. And this is another factor of success. Now, the first teaming project that Cyprus had secured was GEOS. It has been running since 2017. It was secured in 2016, and it's the teaming project that I will say a few more words about, on how it is evolving and what are the first benefits that have started to become visible in these first 4 years. So it employs around 200 researchers now and other staff. Before the Center of Excellence, it was employing nearly 20 researchers. It has created significant momentum for the University of Cyprus and Cyprus in general, with the successes and the know-how that it has transferred to the ecosystem, because it was the first one. It is an ICT-related project. It focuses on smart and intelligent technologies. But I think a critical factor for success is it has applications in almost all fields related to industry, and it enables tackling societal challenges both at the national level and the European level. And we believe that this was critical because the ICT is general horizontal technology that can facilitate such multiple impacts. And we believe that GEOS has relied heavily on this strength. It has created new types of positions at the university. It has been contributing in changing the culture. It's created positions of research faculty, which we have started exploiting recently for other types of purposes, such as the ERA chair that we have, or ERC grant holders that don't have a permanent faculty position. So GEOS has created new opportunities for the whole university as well. It has introduced a new Master of Science in Intelligent Critical Infrastructure Systems. After the 2017 has secured over 50 research projects, including the first and only ERC Synergy grant for Cyprus, which is coordinated by the coordinator and the principal investigator of KIOS, Professor Marios Polikarpou. But it has also secured funding from all kinds of actors and stakeholders, including, of course, industry from Cyprus and abroad, but also ministries, semi-governmental organizations that are related to the basic utilities. And
Marios, 2 minutes to go.
Okay, and it has created a positive impact towards that direction. It has contributed significantly in the Resilience and Recovery Fund. Actually, the President of the European Commission will be visiting KIOS the day after tomorrow to sign the official RRF agreement for Cyprus, to approve it. So this I think highlights the importance of KIOS. Now, the key factors for success: there was a solid commitment by the Cyprus government to match the funds of the teaming, which unfortunately I don't believe that we have now to the same extent. There was a general political support. This was supported by additional budget by each institution. There was an open process for proposal submission without any restrictions for each institution. We had high quality support from the NCP for widespread. We had project teams closely related to this mass specialization, backed up by strong research teams with top scientists. We had a variety of approaches of advanced partners tailored to the needs of each specific project, and we had strong research innovation networks of Cypriot institutions from before. Also, other key factors is that we're very experienced in grant writing. We have been high flyers in securing funding from Horizon 2020 and the predecessor program. We had clear vision of the proposals and the centers of excellence, strong supply side of science with the strong fields, as I said before, and we devoted a large share of resources. Right. Sorry. So
that was not me. Please, all the others, mute yourself.
Sorry.
Okay,
sorry.
Marios, continue. Yeah.
No, I have just 30 seconds. This
Yes.
is just a snapshot of how Cyprus is performing. You can see the top institutions, the 3 academic institutions, and you can see many. You can see teaming projects, but you can also see many SMEs. Okay. And another critical factor is that the University of Cyprus ranks first out of all institutions from the widening countries. And this is again a snapshot that shows, okay, this critical factor is that we have been high performers in the whole Horizon 2020 funding scheme. Thank you very much for your attention.
Mario, thanks a lot. Very interesting and very systematically you approach to, introduce this success of Cyprus, really. I think we'll talk later on, as time permits, more about it. It's certainly a success story, no doubt, especially with some statistics you showed in the beginning, what is your population, etc., etc. But let's move to the last presenter within the part 2. And this is Mike Bernard. I hope I pronounced the name correctly, from Inno Review from Center of Excellence from Slovenia. Mike, please, the floor is yours, and also 10 minutes, of course.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction, and I will manage within the time, I think, no problem. So once again, thank you for the introduction and of course for the invitation as well. My name is Mike Bernard. I am the Deputy Director of the InterRenew COE. We are a research center that was founded after we were successful in both stages of the teaming call from the 2014. That was our phase 1, and then our phase 2 followed. And so I want to tell you a little bit about that. I will take a little bit of a narrative approach and tell you about it. One thing to note here is we are a partnership of now 10 partners, and the 10th partner was the new institute. So it didn't exist when we started. We opted to create an entirely new and independent research institute, and that is the InterRenew COE. So we kind of have 2 things here. One is the InterRenew COE, that's what we call our organization. It is an independent, not-for-profit research institute. It is an ongoing and hopefully perpetual institute. And we founded it on February 15th of 2017 after we were notified that we won the teaming grant, and as much time as it takes us to get all the paperwork organized and solved with our 4 founders and get it through the system in Slovenia. Not too bad. The InterRenew project, however, is a teaming project. It does have a fixed duration, 6.5 years at this point, so the maximum was 7. We were originally a 5-year project, but with some COVID-related issues and some other challenges related to national funding, we extended the duration to 6.5 years so that we could complete everything within the expected time frame. Teaming, as you know, is really a blend of EU funding and national funding. The national funding in our case is European Regional Development Funds that are provided to us by the Ministry of Sports, Education, and Science. And we have 9 Slovenian partners and we have 1 German partner. This is the advanced partner, as it was called in the Horizon 2020 paradigm. The project, the second phase of the teaming project, officially started on April 2017, and we will finish up in just over 2 years now, and is coordinated by the University of Primorska, one of the 4 universities in Slovenia. So we are this new institute, the InterRenew COE. We were founded by 4 partners: the advanced partner, Fraunhofer, from Germany, the University of Primorska, the Institute for the Protection of Cultural Heritage of Slovenia, and the Civil Engineering and Building Institute in Slovenia as well. And these were the partners in the project that were ready to commit funding. Each of these partners committed a little bit of their own startup funding for the project. And in doing so, they became official founders that way. So a little bit about the story. So the teaming is this very exciting thing, but actually when we started thinking about the idea, we didn't know about teaming. We didn't really know that it existed. It may not have really been down on paper yet at that point for our eyes anyway. So 8 years ago, so this was in 2013, I had actually just moved to Europe to start my PhD. My advisor was giving a guest lecture and attending a workshop in the Czech Republic, actually in Brno, was where she was giving the guest lecture, but the workshop that we were attending was in Telch, and so I went along with her. And in Telch, they had just started a new research center that was very focused on their area of interest, which was preservation of cultural heritage. And so we were very impressed, and we started thinking, wow, this is what we want to do too. We want to start our own place, have our equipment set up things the way that we want them to run. And so we started thinking about this. And we are both the type of people that once we get started on one of these ideas, we will find a way to see it through. And I was a little bit of an older PhD student at the time, and but I was also new to Europe, and so I was being embedded into the European Research Network for our fields through Cost Action. So this is now a part of Widening as well. And so through Widening, through cost in particular at that time, we were starting to see where all the gaps in research in our areas were, and we saw a way to then build a research institute around that. We started organizing our national partners and working with Fraunhofer as well in order to find a way to do this. And then the teaming calls were announced, first phase 1, and we decided, okay, we're going to go for it. So previously with phase 1, you would apply, you would get some funding to build the business plan in great detail. You'd have a year to conduct the necessary market research that you needed to do to develop and organize the business plan to prepare the presentations. And then you would submit that as part of the application process for phase 2, which we did. And in that case, we were successful in phase 2 as well. Went to Brussels, defended the application in Brussels. There's a live presentation there as well. And then in November of 2016, we received news that we were successful. And then already in February of the next year, we were able to found the Institute. When we started 8 years ago, it was just myself and my advisor as the 2 wood scientists at University of Primorska. So we started from 2. And now we have 70 employees, conducting a wide variety of research at our institute and are having our building. Our building is almost done. So we started on the left here 8 years ago. That's in Brno. And then this was actually a couple summers ago, because we haven't really been able to get together for a nice gathering in a little while because of COVID. But this was a few years ago, us hanging out in Izola in Slovenia. So through that little journey, we came away with a few lessons, just a few pictures here to show, of course, where we are. We're in Izola in Slovenia on the coast. This is the drawing of our building on the left. And through this journey, we've learned a lot of things. Part of that is, about some of the things that the other speakers have mentioned, and maybe we can come back to that.
I think.
Did we?
But if I understand, he
No,
finished his
fine.
presentation.
No, it's fine.
Sorry.
It's fine.
We lost you for a moment, Michael.
Okay, I'm sorry. I will just continue.
I understand you're finishing already, right?
Just about, just wrapping up. Am I here? Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, we
Okay.
hear you.
Okay, thank you. A little confused there. Okay, so where we are now, 70 employees. We recruited internationally, so we have a lot of employees from around the world. We have folks all the way from China and India. We have from all across Europe, well, different places in Europe anyway. We have quite a few
Michael, we are
people
losing you all the time. I don't know whether your internet connection is not really good, or I hope it's not mine.
No,
I think it's yours.
Yours, yes, the connection.
Yes,
Okay,
Mr.
Michael,
Mitrovic, I think you have
to finish now. Yeah, you finished, right?
Yeah, more or less. I was going to say a few more things, but
okay, I don't know.
Yeah, we can be done here.
But I hope you hear
Mike's
me.
connection is just
so
fine.
I think we finished our presentations, and now let's have some discussion. You hear me, right?
You're having some internet issues, Draško. It wasn't Mike's fault.
Oh, it was my issue. Okay,
yes,
sorry about that. But you hear me now?
Yes, we do.
Should I turn off my video maybe to have better connection, or what?
Oh, possibly, yeah.
Okay. I apologize for that, Mike. I thought, because I was losing you, just your picture was kind of fading, I thought it's your connection. I apologize to everyone and to you, Mike. But okay, we heard all the presentations. Let's have some discussion now. I mean, there were so many questions raised, let's say, like, is this widening the right thing to narrow the gap that we have? Let's say, is 3 billion enough, in this period, which is twice as much as we had in the previous period, approximately twice as much, but is it enough? Is there any instrument maybe in widening that you are missing? That could be also the question. Do we have the right instruments there? Maybe there's another instrument which would be also even better, compared to the existing ones. Okay, what do you think about the new instruments like Hop-on, like Excellent Hubs and similars? Okay, brain drain and brain gain. I mean, that's the story that we are talking about time already. Do you think these instruments can stop brain drain in let's say, widening countries? So these are maybe some of the questions, and which are, of course, generally tied to widening as such. But if maybe you have any question from the audience concretely to any of the speakers, please come up with them. So, do we have any question? Yeah. Here the question here. All widening countries have challenges with the brain circulation. Can you share a good experience on this? How do you keep your researchers in your institutions or invite others from another country? Are there successful examples, twinning projects growing into teaming? Maybe Cyprus can say something about that. Or actually, we have the question, I think, well, okay. So who would go for the first one?
I can answer that one from InterRedu's perspective. Yeah. So
Yes.
this was definitely something that we wanted to address at InterRenew. It is one of the reasons why we decided to become an independent institute rather than remain a public institute. And Dr. Koji mentioned that, you know, the money is not really as necessary, but there are some fundamental things that you need when it comes to funding, and that is being able to pay researchers and to afford them some freedom to explore their own interests. And working outside of the public remuneration structure in Slovenia gave us some freedom to pay a little bit better. So through that, we are able to keep some Slovenians in Slovenia, certainly, I think, that might have otherwise left. We've been able to bring researchers in from other parts of Europe and from other parts of the world. And we've had particular success in the last few years using the Marie Curie individual fellowships. And we've had 4 of those that have been successful in the last few years, including one returning Slovenian coming back to Slovenia. So we've found some success with those instruments as well.
Mm-hmm.
We do pay a little bit more than the public institutions in Slovenia, which certainly helps, particularly when we're trying to attract excellent researchers from abroad. And so there is a financial incentive there, and that freedom as an independent institute gives us the ability to
Maybe
do
the
that.
quick one, Michael. How many people, researchers, are from abroad, and how many are from Slovenia in this new institute? Just the quick one.
Yeah, sure. So we have a total of 70 employees. 44% of them are from abroad. Out of our research, I think it's 51% are from abroad, and they come from 17 different countries. So that's, I think, 18 or 19 researchers coming from abroad.
Okay, thanks a lot. Anyone else maybe to jump in?
Yes, I would like to add
Yes,
something,
please.
because we have to
Christina,
also
please.
yes, we have to cope with this challenge also in public institutions. It's a great opportunity to be able to have a non-public institution funded with European funding, but in most of the cases it's not possible. So I've been struggling with this problem for a long time, and it was easier during the 7th framework program with my EU first year C grant, because we were allowed to pay higher salaries. But then within the 2020 horizon, it was a real nightmare because of the internal regulations. And it was basically impossible to offer any better salaries for researchers and really hire people from abroad. And even if we hired, then for example, in the twinning, I lost one researcher because we couldn't really, due to internal constraints, we couldn't offer a better salary that would be competitive with what he was offered abroad. So this was a huge problem, but now, to the best of my knowledge, at least in Poland, it has been changing, because institutions are now encouraged to develop new regulations for salaries, for limits of salaries in different kinds of projects. And in our university, for example, such a law was let's say amended or accepted, a new regulation a year ago, and now it's much easier really to recruit people internationally. So I think, at least in our institution, the problem has been solved. It's also changing in other Polish institutions. I don't know about other countries, but yes, this has been a huge challenge, and I think the best potential can be obtained, let's say, or stimulated, the research potential, when we can combine local researchers working with researchers recruited from abroad, and this creates a more stimulating environment and opportunities for exchange. So hopefully this is changing, and we have to insist that this actually changes.
Okay, Cyprus, maybe some of your experience. You had these 6 teaming projects. How many, let's say, researchers from abroad did you succeed to engage? Or is it mostly home affair?
Actually, the majority of our researchers now comes from abroad. And especially for KIOS, we have been recruiting, of course, EU nationals, but also from third countries. We have many brilliant minds coming from India, from Pakistan, and so we're creating an opposite brain drain, which was never the case for Cyprus.
That's good. That's very good.
This is indeed another another small success that we have been attracting excellent researchers from around the world. Now the other teaming projects, especially the four last ones, are not mature yet. Now they're in the process of recruiting. That's why I'm using Chios as the main example, because there it's been running for over 4 years, and we had the chance to see how this can evolve. I believe that we have more than 50% of researchers from abroad, and we hope to see all the other teaming projects in Cyprus developing the same way. Now, I just want to address another question. My experience is that most of these projects had indeed relied on previous networks. That's why I said in my presentation that Cyprus had strong research and innovation networks. I didn't see any connection so far, at least, with the 3 programs. We have one in the Cyprus Institute, but that was with ERA-Chair and twinning, not with ERA-Chair or twinning leading to teaming projects. I believe that the teaming projects relied indeed, as a question said, on cost projects, on research and innovation actions, and other types of collaborations that may not have been funded by the mainstream instruments of the European Union, or maybe it was collaborations that the scientists had established in the past.
Okay,
this is our experience, at least. Yeah.
We're running out of time. I have still some questions. There is the question whether the presentations will be available. Yes, they will be available to everyone on the internet, so you can drain them from there, so to say. Well, I also post some questions like, what do you think about these new instruments coming up within the widening? Would anyone like to tackle that briefly, just before we go to the next, to the third part of the conference? We have the speaker here already. Mr. Alexio is here.
Yes, he's here.
Okay, so we should finish. Maybe
indeed.
Last question.
Hello.
Just the last question, maybe this one. What do you think about new widening instruments? If anyone wants to tackle that before we move to Mr. Alexio? Very quickly, really.
Can I answer that?
Sure.
I believe
really
that,
quickly.
I believe that the teaming is now, I believe it's a positive development, that it is a classic 2-phase proposal, that you don't have to run the business plan in the first phase and then take a couple of years to submit the second phase. I believe this is a good development. The ERA-Chair is a good development, and now you have the flexibility to select the ERA-Chair. Personally, I'm coordinating an ERA-Chair, and we have big problems in finding and recruiting the right candidate. Twinning, I think, more or less remains the same, so it's always useful. Take a close look at the excellence hubs. It's a new call under this the wide era. I believe this one is a very positive development. It will enhance more the other actions, and of course all the swaps that have been transferred in the wide era, I believe they always add value, given that you know how to use them and how to support your organizations through these actions. So that was just a very brief response.
Yeah, thank you, Marius. There's a hop-on instrument as well, which might be interesting, of course. But okay, we'll have some time maybe at the end of the conference still, within conclusions and closing remarks. Maybe we can, tackle any kind of these questions later on. But now let's move to the third part of the conference. Let's be on time. We are almost on time. So I'm passing the floor to the next chairperson. And please, you can introduce the last speaker.
Yes, hello again. Thank you, Drasko, for passing me the screen, as we say today here. Indeed, we are very happy to have with us today Manuel Aleixo, who is the acting head of unit at the very core of widening activities. So he's responsible for ERA, so European Research Area governance and implementation. And within this topic, widening is also included. So we are very, very eager to hear about the instruments we already know, but as just discussed last minute, there are some upgrades or changes, so it'd be also useful to know what's different now. But first of all, I think that we are all interested in the new things coming on. So because the package for widening is much wider, the budget is bigger, and the opportunities that are there are very challenging and also appealing for all the widening countries. And we hope you will, we are actually pretty sure you will provide us with some information. The call's just been launched last week. So this is a perfect moment, I think, for this discussion. And there are already questions for you, Manuel. So be ready. At the end, I will ask those questions to you. I noted them down during the event. So yeah, but that's it for the introduction. And now the floor, the screen is fully yours. We will listen to you very carefully. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I simply regret not having listened to the rest of the discussion so far, because I generally learn a lot by listening to you, because you all know much more than I do about the actual use of the different instruments and the different means that we have all at our disposal. What we do here at the Commission is trying to provide you with the instruments, and then it's really up to you to use them. And that's what we really like to see and to discuss with you, because you are the real specialists here, not us. We try to put in place the framework and the instruments, but then it is really you who put them in practice. And so for us, and certainly for me, it's very enriching to listen to your views and to listen to your questions and especially your comments. I'll share with you a short presentation, which will not really tell you anything that you don't already know, I think. But if I can perhaps provide you with a slightly different perspective, I would start by, well, first of all, with an overview of the program, of course. You all know that the program, as it is designed now, has this three-pillar structure, and the excellent science, the global challenges, and the innovative Europe. And of course, the main novelties in this three-pillar structure are that we have, it's not so much in the first pillar, not even to a great extent in the second pillar, although of course there are novelties there, but the third pillar is actually quite new and has new features, notably the European Innovation Council. Then we of course have the widening participation and strengthening the European research area part of the program, which is represented here in a horizontal way because we consider that it's less vertical than the others, and that it is more cross-cutting, of course. So this is the basic structure of the program, which of course you know very well. An interesting idea to share with you perhaps is the discussions that we've had over the past couple of years on how to make the European research area more dynamic, how to revive the European research area, if you like. And these discussions are very much connected, not exactly to the program itself, or to the work program itself, but they're more broadly connected, certainly to widening, certainly to the European research area actions. These discussions and this basic scheme that you see here were really at the origin of the communication on the European research area that was adopted last year in September. So there we established 4 basic objectives for the European research area: prioritizing investments and reforms. This means member states spending more money, but also spending money better on research and innovation. It means improving access to excellence, of which widening, of course, is a big part, but not the only one, of course. We are talking also about synergies and reforms beyond the use of the framework program. We also established we proposed a target in the ERA communication of a 50% increase over the next 5 years in R&I spending, overall spending, for member states who are below the EU average, in order to try to stimulate convergence. The third objective was translating research and innovation results into the economy. This is, in a way, a lot about innovation, but not only. It's about knowledge valorization. And finally, deepening the European research area. This is the more traditional ERA side of things, the more traditional ERA policies, which include, of course, or which are at the basis of the idea of free movement of researchers and knowledge. So this was the, if you want, the matrix for the discussions that took place last year, the year before, that have been taking place this year, in order to revive the European research area. We are also going to propose shortly a pact for research and innovation, which translates some of these issues and above all establishes principles and priority areas for action for the European research area, areas in which member states and the Commission can work together in order to achieve these objectives. Again, this is still a little bit far away from the work program specifically, but I think it is a good background to understand some of the policy options that then are taken later on, and that will influence the discussions certainly over the next few years, because these discussions are ongoing. We've also set up an ERA Forum for Transition, which started in February, and some of the discussions in the ERA Forum also have to do with improving access to excellence, improving the performance of all member states. So they also touch upon widening, even if in an indirect way. Another element that I think is important to mention here as background information is that the widening package, or the widening provisions that we see today in the framework program, and that is then translated into the work programs, they were, as you probably know, the object of an agreement at the level of the member states, and which was an overall agreement, a package agreement, if you like, between the member states and of course between the European Parliament. This was until one of the last issues to be negotiated, taking aside, of course, the budget. And this was indeed, there was indeed the concern of having a coherent package that was acceptable to the member states and to the European Parliament, and that involved not only the traditional widening actions that we already knew from the past, but also some new elements. One of them, of course, it was an increase in the budget to 3.3% of the budget of the framework program, as you know. So here we come to some of the elements that are prominent in the framework program in general, and of course that we find in the work programs. First of all, we can see there at the bottom the overall budget, which is significantly higher in terms of the widening part of the program. This corresponds, these 2.96 billion correspond roughly to 3.3% of the overall budget, of course. And we also have an attempt to align with the ERA strategic priorities and to implement this idea of implementing the package of measures that was adopted by the co-legislators, the so-called Advancing Europe package, that involved a number of measures together. So we have the traditional teaming actions, twinning, ERA chairs, cost, but then we have a number of new actions, which are namely the support to NCPs, a stronger support to NCPs, rather. We have other support measures, such as pre-proposal checks and matchmaking, which we also find both in the work program and in the specific program, in the decision on the specific program. And these are all measures that we hope that once they are fully in place, They will give practical assistance where practical assistance is necessary in order to improve the performance of member states in applying and to the framework program. Then we also have established, which is a novelty in the program, a specific list of the widening countries. Before, as you know, there was a certain calculation that had to be made on the basis of an index. Now the countries who are widening countries indeed are specifically mentioned as such in the framework program. And of course, the outermost regions are also eligible to host a coordinator. We then have some different initiatives that we are still exploring. One of them is, some of them are initiatives on brain circulation. So for example, we have the so-called ERA fellowships and ERA talents. The ERA talents are going to be in place next year, hopefully, and they're still going to be the object of a study. But these are all initiatives to improve brain circulation and to incentivize researchers to go to widening countries or to go back to their countries. But as I say, these are still very much in the drawing board and still subject to studies, and will be put in place at a later stage. Then we have also these new initiatives, excellence initiatives they're called, and here we have they're generically called excellence initiatives in the program. But here we have two examples. We have the Excellence Hubs and the European Excellence Initiative for Universities. The Excellence Hubs, the idea of this initiative is to foster innovation excellence in place-based innovation ecosystems, and really to improve science-business linkages. The idea is to put in place a group of 2 or 3 place-based innovation ecosystems in order to apply for this kind of initiative. And of course, we have the European Excellence Initiatives for Universities, which is about networking universities, a network of universities coordinated by a university from a widening country. And of course, the objective is to support the transformation of higher education institutions towards excellence and towards an international profile. Lastly, we have here a reference to the famous hop-on. The hop-on was very much discussed at length during the negotiations when the program was being discussed in the Council and the Parliament. It was, I wouldn't say controversial, but it was very much discussed because the merits of the hop-on were somehow considered to be very arguable. Some considered that this would be a shortcut that would not work. Others considered that it would indeed be a valuable instrument. At the end of the day, the hop-on was indeed adopted in the program, and we are going to operationalize it naturally. We feel that it was, as you know, proposed by the Commission, and we do feel that it was that it is going to prove to be an interesting and useful instrument. But of course, then we have to see in practice how it's going to work. A few words now on the research area part of the program. So, as you know, the program has. Maybe I can move on to this slide, which makes it a little bit clearer. The work program is organized in destinations, which are essentially packages of topics. And so you see there the first destination, which is called Improved Access to Excellence, and has there the different elements that I mentioned. Then we have the second destination, which is which is called Attracting and Mobilizing the Talents. And of course, there we have the ERA chairs, the ERA fellowships, and the ERA talents. And then we have the third destination, which is called Reforming and Enhancing the EU research and innovation system. And this is the ERA part of the work program itself. And here we find many different elements. One of the interesting features of this part of the program is that you find it structured according to the 4 objectives of the ERA communication of last September. So you have a first part, which is on prioritizing investments and reforms. There you have support to policymakers, the policy support facility, the ERA scoreboard, which is an instrument which is going to be developed from the second part of this year as part of the new European Research Area instruments for monitoring. Then we have a second part on improving access to excellence, which is where we have networking and training for research managers. A third part on translating research and innovation results into the economy, where we have several initiatives, among which the ERA hubs, which are a new initiative described in the European Research Area communication. It's now being the object of a study, mapping hubs throughout the European Union. And the idea of the ERA hubs is precisely to have a stronger networking effect, and they are supposed to be networking initiatives rather than hubs themselves. And finally, the fourth area is deepening the ERA, where you find topics on open science, citizen science, science education, gender, ethics, and integrity, and so forth. So this is a little bit the overview of what the program looks now, the work program. As I mentioned, many of these instruments are, of course, some of the traditional instruments that we know. Some of the instruments are new, and as such, we have to test them, and we have to see how they work. Hopefully, they will provide good support. That's indeed our intention. I think at this point, I would like to hear a little bit your reactions, your comments, questions, and how you yourselves see not only the framework program, which of course I would be interested in hearing, but also this first work program. As you know, we are now in the process of already discussing ideas for the next work program, so the work program for 23-24. So I know that this one is now being implemented, and the first calls have been launched, and so we are at the beginning of this work program. But any reactions and reflections from your side, I think, will already be very useful at this stage for our future reflection on the next work program, indeed. So I would like to listen a little bit to you now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Manuel, for this overview of what's coming now. We received some questions earlier to some detailed issues linked with several types of projects, mostly actually teaming, and I will come back to that for sure. But since you asked about the general approach, I will maybe also encourage maybe also some previous speakers, if some of you would like to also take the floor, please indicate that in the chat, because that's also possible. We still have quite some time for discussions and questions and answers. So also please write them if you have them on the chat, or as I said, indicate that you would like to take part in the discussion. From my side, since I also had the pleasure to discuss all this, that it's now being published as a member of the Shadow Program Committee, I must say that we have quite some hopes related with those new actions, and we're also very eager to see that there are some changes in the teaming, tweening, and ERA chairs that are allowing with more flexibility in terms of, for example, adding also some research activities to be funded that was not so easy before. So that's a good option, I think. As it comes to teaming, it was also already mentioned before that it's very good to not to have this long process issues of submitting twice. But I think that the whole question now is how synergies with mostly with ERDF, so cohesion policy and funding from that source will work, because this is a main challenge, something there about the kind of a coordinated evaluation process. This is usually a very difficult issue to deal with on the national level as well. And then teaming, it's a very good tool. We also discussed that before, and it's we think there was not so much to improve. It was also very good already before. So let's just hope it will be used in an efficient way. And ERA shares indeed this option of having the research already there at the proposal stage is probably very promising. Maybe it's a bit closing the possibilities, but on the other hand, it makes project more likely to succeed from the beginning, because the whole recruitment procedure is basically done before the actual start of the project. So that's a bit of a comment to the existing instruments. We hope it will work. We really we discussed that among our different partners, and we really hope it will work. It was not an easy process indeed, but we hope that the possibility to have a partner from the widening country to a consortium that's already there, but without the widening country, is really something that could help networking and could start up some good cooperation that will lead hopefully to research innovation actions or another possibilities to cooperate, of course. We're also very eager to see what will happen with excellence hubs. This is something new, but there's an interest already. As I can only say on behalf of Polish potential participants, but we observed that already. So let's hope it will work. And of course, the famous old version of widening fellowships, now called European Research Area Fellowships. This is also something we would like to see operating, because this brain drain issue is really a topic here in our countries. So that would be my general comment. Of course, colleagues, feel free to jump in also. I will now go to those questions that were asked at the beginning, so you could maybe answer them. One was about the teaming of excellence calls and the standard first phase of the coordination support action template. Is this the case to be used? This template is this template to be used in this first call? It's a bit of a different project still, but that's the question. And in this case, will the evaluation be blind, or this rule does not exist for this special call?
Thank you, Eva. If you allow me, I will begin by commenting on some of your initial comments. So you, in your comments, you mentioned in particular the issue of synergies, which I didn't touch upon practically on my presentation, because they are, of course, part of this discussion. They are a little bit lateral, but they are very much a part of this discussion. And I agree with you that synergies are going to be a really important part of how our, let's say, constellation of instruments is going to work in the future. What we tried to do here within the legal instruments was to provide the basic rules that would allow synergies to happen. So that I think we've managed to achieve in the legal text, so to speak. Now, the challenge, of course, is to take that from the paper and to put it in practice. And this is quite challenging because it raises many practical questions. and we need to figure out how to put this into practice. And it's really very important because it may make the difference as to whether member states can engage in a certain project or not, or are interested in taking a certain project to the next level or not. So as a dynamic source of financing, it's a really crucial point. Now, we are working internally. This is not my unit. This is a different department, but we are working very closely. And what we're doing is we're talking to the different actors, both within the Commission and outside with the member states, in order to try and figure out how we can put these things together. So this means, for example, establishing guidelines for the use of synergies among the different programs, and of course it's mainly about structural funds and Horizon Europe, but also other programs. It doesn't have to be just structural funds. And also establishing a network with the national authorities in order to ensure that everybody is talking to each other, and that the different questions that arise can be addressed and solved as we go along. So all this work is now ongoing in order to try to make synergies easier, to try to make them more agile, which was the whole objective. Furthermore, on the side of the European Research Area reform, what we're trying to do is we're trying to establish, with the future adoption of the Pact for Research and Innovation, a stronger policy coordination between the member states and the European Commission. Stronger than existed until now, in which you had the ERA national action plans, and then you had evaluations and so on and so forth, but this sort of got weaker with time. And so what we really want to do is have a stronger policy coordination, both at the level of policy design, implementation, and evaluation. And within this policy coordination, we want to try to help member states precisely to use the different funding possibilities that could be available to them. So again, this is a broader question and a broader discussion, but it's very important in this context. It may make the difference between being able or not being able to develop a certain teaming project, for example, although it's not directly related to the teaming call, so to speak, or to research infrastructure, or to whatever. So this is an area that we're really working hard on. Then I see that Agota, who is indeed participating in our work in the ERA Forum, asks here whether we see room for change between work programs. Hi, Agota. Indeed, that's the idea. We do foresee room for change. Of course, we are constrained by the legal base. We are constrained by the program and the specific program. So we always have boundaries in which we need to work. But yes, we can foresee to try new things. We can foresee to try new approaches. So this is absolutely not out of the question. But of course, within the boundaries that the legislation imposes upon us. If I move now to your specific question, so the template for the first phase, I don't want to answer that here today, and I'll explain to you why. Because we're having an info day on Friday, where many of these questions will be answered, and we have colleagues there who are great specialists in all of these. So I'd rather not address these specific more technical questions, which I would suggest to reserve for the info day on Friday. And again, I have colleagues there who are really specialists in these particular issues, and I don't want to give you the wrong reply now. So anything to do with the evaluation, with the whether there's a blind evaluation or not, etc. I suspect I know the answer, but I would rather leave it to the info days, if you agree.
Okay.
I'm trying to look here.
Yeah, I just will just briefly comment, because indeed we have quite some other questions from the beginning of the event about the budget, about the evaluation. So this will be answered on Friday, most
yes, indeed. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. I have one question also from the beginning of the event. It's a bit of a wider context, I guess, because this is about the evaluation and selection procedure for teaming of excellence in the light of spreading the project through widening countries. So it's not really that much about the process, it's more about the approach.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
What's the approach of evaluation and selection procedure for teaming of excellence in the light of spreading the project through or across the widening countries? The kind of approach of spreading it more or less equally or not equally, I think that's the background of the question.
Whether we target particular countries or
within the widening, yeah.
Within the widening countries. Well, generally, as you know, that is not the case. The idea is that the call's open, and indeed, any country can apply. So we don't have that intention. No.
Okay.
The idea is that the principle of having open calls also applies in the widening program in general. Targeted calls are very much the exception, as you know, in Horizon, which is not the case, of course, for other EU programs. But this is certainly the rule, the general rule for Horizon.
Okay, thank you. So that's clear. Then in the chat, now there is a question about HOP-on.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see it, but it's related to the text of the work program, and the moment to actually really launch it is after signing the grant agreement. So are there any ideas to introduce HOP-on before the signature of the consortium agreement and the grant agreement?
Well, the way that the HOP-on was conceived in the discussions and indeed in the legislation was that the consortium had to be constituted already, and of course that the consortium could not include any member from a widening country. So for this purpose, the consortium has to be constituted. Otherwise, I don't see how this could be a HOP-on in the traditional, in the proper sense that we speak about. So the idea of the HOP-on is that the consortium is already constituted, and that then the widening member will hop on to the consortium. That's why it's called a HOP-on. So the consortium needs to be constituted. Now, this specific question here is whether the HOP-on can take effect before the signature of the consortium agreement. I would honestly need to check this, but my impression is that indeed the grant agreement has to be signed before the HOP-on could take effect. So I don't know if that's the sense of this question, or if the,
I guess so. Yeah. If
the colleague asks it.
Yeah, if the person who asked could react, that would be also nice. And there is another HOP-on question, so I will go directly to it to stay on the topic. Kind of a question about the development of HOP-on in the future. Yeah. Is it related with widening countries that they should have maybe some substantial tasks in the consortia, or just some minor ones? What's the vision?
Now, this is of course an important question, because we first of all, a member of the consortium is a member of the consortium, so we don't envisage to distinguish between members of the consortium. But what I think is important is that we now, once the HOP-on begins to work and begins to function, we need to monitor carefully how it works. This is one of the aspects, of course. We need to make sure that indeed the HOP-on is being used in a proper way, and that it is not abused. And I think it is a little bit what is behind this question, is that a member is not added to the HOP-on just as a token addition. And of course, this is one of the concerns about the HOP-on from the beginning. Those member states who were more reluctant about the HOP-on had precisely this concern, that we would add a member to the consortium as a token member, but not as a real member of the consortium. So this is certainly something that we are going to look into carefully, as well as the frequency with which it is used and the pertinence that it assumes and the relevance that it assumes. Will it become an instrument that is used frequently and that has a significant impact, or on the contrary, will it turn out not to have such a great impact, and will it turn out to be less interesting than we thought? This is something that time will tell, and of course we are going to assess this and evaluate this very carefully. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, indeed, there's quite some excellence to be shared in the widening countries. So this is about spreading excellence as well, and be able to show it to partners from mostly Western Europe. So let's hope it will work in such a way. Okay.
Yes, I see here that we have the colleague who is now clarified. Okay, so it was a little bit in the same sense. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. Now we have a question about twinning, and the other one about ERA. It's I don't know if you see it.
Yeah, I can see it. Rui Munha.
Yeah.
This is from a fellow countryman of mine.
Exactly.
The coordinator institution of an ongoing twinning project can assume the role of a partner institution in the twinning of the Western Balkans. Now, this is an excellent question. This I cannot answer here because, again, I don't want to risk giving you a wrong reply in these very detailed questions. But I think these are the ideal questions to ask in the info days. And I suspect that some of these don't really have a reply, but we'll do our best to reply to them. And I'll certainly relay these questions to the colleagues who will be in the info day on Friday. I will, of course, also be there in order for them to be able to give you a precise reply to these questions. Can the prospective ERA chairholder be someone recently hired by the coordinator institution? Again, I'd rather look at this with colleagues and then give you a clear answer rather than giving you a vague reply right now.
Okay, so let's keep that in mind. Thank you. And there's one more general question asking about a bit of advice, I would say. Like what to do in case of a small university. This is an example from Romania is looking for possible partnerships. What to do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the search for partnerships, I think, is connected to the broader issue of networking. That is, are you part of a network, not in the formal sense necessarily, but are you part of a network or not? Do you have frequent contacts with partners or not? And one of our concerns was precisely to expose institutions who are less part of networks and who are less in certain networks to be more exposed to that. That's why we have these, let's say, these additional measures, both to reinforce NCPs, to have matchmaking activities and to help with the preparation of proposals. All of these measures are precisely designed to go into that direction and to help institutions such as this, who need to be more in the circuit in order to find partners. One thing that we find very often in these, now of course we're more into virtual events, sadly, because in physical events people meet much more freely. And one of the things that we notice is, of course, as years go by, we find the same people over and over in the same types of events. And of course, that's all part of the networking phenomenon. The more you go around, the more you meet the same people and the same circles, and that's crucially important. I give you an example. I mean, I've talked to researchers and to research institutions more or less all over the world, and I found colleagues from African countries, poor African countries, who were involved in quite significant projects, and I've asked them, well, how did it happen that you managed to be a partner in this project? And their reply was always the same, was that we managed to get into the network, we managed to be recognized as a potential partner, and then eventually things start to happen. So I would, my advice, and to reply directly to the question, is to use to the fullest the instruments that are available to you, and especially these new instruments, and to really encourage your institution to try to apply, because that's another issue that we hear recurrently, is that unfortunately Horizon has a fairly low success rate. Well, it depends on the part of the program, of course, but and this sometimes discourages institutions and researchers to apply to our program, and of course the message that you should always try to apply, and you should never sort of think that this is not for you, that this is for other institutions, and I think this is a very important message to pass.
Thank you very much, and I can only add to that that the best thing, there is no recipe for that, but just like this approach of getting yourself known to others, it's always a good thing. And we as organizers of this event are also part of this network. So I think I can say that on behalf of all of the organizers, just get in touch with us, also with your NCPs in your countries, and use this opportunity. Manuel also mentioned this strengthened matchmaking possibilities under the widening. And I believe that this will also be used extensively, not only to get more participants in the widening itself, but across the whole Horizon Europe, and specifically in the second pillar, where most of the budget and all those important topics and clusters are. So that's a general advice, I would say, from my side. And I don't see any further questions in the chat at the moment. So I think it's more or less the end of this part of our event. I would just like to thank you, Manuel, for putting a bit of a wider picture for us here, in order not to forget that widening is basically a tool, not a goal in itself, because the goal is actually to be more present by the widening institutions in the mainstream of research, and to really join and to be active in the European research area as such. So this is something that we should use, but also some other instruments are there, and the whole Horizon Europe is waiting, and I hope that our countries will also manage, and even if the success rate is somehow not so good, that we still will try and succeed at the end. So thank you very much again for joining us, for finding time, and we will surely follow the Info Day on Friday, and some future events as well in our home countries, I guess. And we'll come back to you with some proposals, I hope. And I will now give the floor to my colleagues from Hungary, Agota and Olshoya, for summing up our event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eva. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Eva. And first of all, also a big thanks for Manuel for this excellent presentation, and also summing up the main messages concerning the widening package, and also giving some answer to our questions. And it's my task now to give a really short some key takeaways of today's meeting. And I think it was really an excellent discussion. So I very much enjoyed these best practice examples, in addition to the presentation of Manuel. And I would really focus on 3 key messages. So first of all, I think the main keyword of today was synergies. So we could hear this term quite often and by many participants. But I really like that the synergies word was not only used in the usual sense that we always refer to this as the synergies between the framework program and the structural funds, but also it was used in another term that we can really build on the synergies between the various instruments of the framework program itself. And I think most of the success stories were really a good example for this, that if you start with one instrument, then you can much more easily get to the next one and to a second one and the third one. So you really have to start, and this is already the second point of my takeaways, that what are the key success factors, and this was just mentioned by Eva and Manuel, that we really have to apply and apply again, because we can see this, that if you succeed, then you will really become more and more successful also with other instruments. And I just mentioned some success factors that were mentioned by the colleagues. So we really need a clear vision, then a commitment. I also like this point that commitment is not only needed on the side of the scientists, but also on the side of the government and on the financial institutions like we are. So this is also a message to us. Then, of course, scientific excellence, but this is the basis for everything. So maybe it's not even necessary to mention it. And I think it was also a very interesting key message that you always have to find the proper instrument for the content of your and of your message. So if the instrument fits your message, then you have a far better chance to win. And then my final point would be that I really like this also, that it was highlighted more times during the event, that widening is not only for the EU 13, but it's really a win-win situation. And it can be really, it can have a big impact also for the whole Europe. So not only for us, but also for EU 15 or 14 countries. And I would just finish with this, that we really have to be proud of our knowledge and our own scientific excellence, and we should be proud and show it to the world. And now I give the floor to Orsolya, because she will also have some more practical takeaways for you. But thank you very much for your interest and participation.
First of all, thank you all of you for participating so persistently. I just give some practical information about our participants list. It will be shared with the slides after the event in a few days. We asked in the registration to give us some introductory about your expertise and research interest. So we will share among the participants, and it could be also a good starting point to start a discussion and get to know each other, and then get in touch each other. If you need any help to find the right person in the institutions, we are really happy to help you and get this connection online. And we also send you an evaluation form. We kindly ask you to fill this. It could be really useful for us to continue this collaboration and organize further events in the Horizon Europe program. I hope you find this useful, and it gives you an effective help to submit a successful proposal. We wish you good luck for the Horizon Europe program and good collaborations and good successful projects. Thank you again. Also thanks my colleagues to involve us in this good event. So see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you all, and goodbye.
Thank you so much for attending today.
Thank you also from SBRA, for everybody, and for all the colleagues for the coordination. It was really great.
Thank
See
you.
you soon, hopefully.
Bye. Have a nice
afternoon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.